Live from the Talking Joe Studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. And we have got a treat for you today because celebrating the return of Silent Missions Month in April, we will be talking to none other than Alex Antone, rhymes with phone, but I will not be doing that alone. I will join my regular co-host. It's a real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, listeners, viewers. Let's bring in our guest.
Hello, Alex.
We're here. We're all here. Gang's all here. Hello.
Very good. Before this, we were talking about your return, not just to Talking Joe, following a year. It was April, I think, last year we spoke last, just around the time of the first Silent Missions. And so you're back to us, but you're also back to Skybound following a little bit of a break. Tell us about returning to work and juggling poop and juggling comics.
We had our second child in September, so we're recording this in March, so it's going to be 6 months, which is really amazing. I got to take just over 2 months, just about 2 months off during my paternity leave, which was great. Great to decompress from work as well as just enjoy the time with the newborn. And relearn how to be a dad. No, I never forgot, but this is our second kid, so there's some familiarity the second time around. Just like Silent Missions event. How about that? Boom! How about that marketing hook?
Did you turn off your work brain during that time, or did you have a little notebook and you're going, "Oh, I just thought of a great idea"?
I was shockingly great at just completely forgetting about work for 2 months,
Fantastic.
which was awesome. And then coming back to find out what had been done and what had not been done in my break was.
Oh no, Ben's broken everything.
Ben did great. We had hired most of the Silent Missions folks already, but I think we'll get into it. Like Howard Porter was a full Ben hire. They go way back, so. I was really thrilled when I came back and saw that he was doing one, and Ben did an awesome job. I mean, he is the best editor in comics, certainly one of them. So it was easy for me to go, you got this, right? And knowing that he absolutely did. The secret origin of Ben Abernathy and I is that he was my internship supervisor at Wildstorm, so he kind of taught me what a comic book editor does. So that was, he and I go way back. He hired me at DC, then I left DC, and then he came over here, and we're finally back together again.
Phil Hester told me something funny this past November at Assembly Required, a wonderful G.I. Joe convention. He said that someone from Skybound reached out and said, Was it you? Would you be interested, Phil Hester, in doing some G.I. Joe? And he said, talk to the guy across the hall. I'm already doing some G.I. Joe for you. Because he was already doing... No, Ben Abernathy asked him about Energon Universe, and Phil Hester said, I'm already doing a Silent Missions for Alex Antone.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's news to me. That's hilarious. Yeah. No, Ben and I, the good news is Ben and I really like each other and respect each other. So there's very little, competition amongst the two of us for talent. But sometimes it's nice to get one over. He's definitely gotten many over on me. So yeah.
Is now that you are in the third year of A Real American Hero. And this is a separate question from the Kickstarter, because I know that that's a whole big thing and maybe bigger than the first one because it's both of them. Is there anything different now in the third year of editing this long-running comic, either because you now have been doing it for a while or, with an anniversary like 325, expectations have changed or, sales have... Yeah. Leveled off and you have to get people back in or sales are soaring. What's different in the third year?
I think the biggest thing is my like rapport with Larry has really grown over the last 3 years. I think we had a passing familiarity with each other in terms of working with each other before. We did work together back at BC, but it was new, and also it was coming in as a very new GI Joe fan to work with a guy who basically created all of the characters that he is still writing today. Like it was just let me know what you need, sir. And now it's more, he's like, asked me for thoughts and feedback, I think, more than maybe he did initially. And I also felt maybe more comfortable giving feedback at this stage. So it's really just like a rapport with Larry. I can call him up and it doesn't feel weird. I don't feel like I'm bothering him anymore. I think he knows, like, he knows my intent and I know his intent, and we're both definitely just focused on making the best book that we can. I also think he's gotten to know Skybound as an institution, and I'm very confident that he would say Skybound has done right by him over these last few years. So I think that's obviously helped a lot. But yeah, I'm getting to know the characters. I've gotten to know the characters a lot better, so that's been really helpful. I'm getting to know the fan base a bit more, learning what they like, what they don't like, what they say they like, what they say they don't like, which aren't necessarily the same thing. But yeah, it's been an awesome 3 years, and like you alluded to, we just kind of celebrated a milestone anniversary issue with 325. That was really exciting. That we definitely had a conversation with Larry in terms of like, let's do something cool in this issue. Let's make it feel like a cool issue that people will remember. And that's where he's like, well, I've got ideas for 2 new G.I. Joes. And I was like, sure, that works for me. So that's where we planted that seed there. And I just reviewed 326 and 327, and Downrange is appearing in those issues as well, which is great. So we're going to continue to use these characters that were created in that issue. And Chris Mooneyham designed them. I thought he did a great job. I thought he did a great job with 325 in general. I thought that issue was like one of maybe his best issue on G.I. Joe thus far, in terms of like the art. So yeah, I think this team is really strong, and I think we're all kind of headed in the same direction, which is been fun. And working, back at DC, I worked on a few series over the course of many years, but I'd like to believe that when all is said and done, this may end up being the longest running series I edit. So, because I have no plans to go anywhere, and this book has no plans of going anywhere. So, hopefully we make it to 350 and beyond. So.
You just said that you feel more comfortable making suggestions or having a dialogue with Larry about story. Is there something in the last year that you can share with us that was either your idea to include in the book, or something that Larry was saying, thinking of doing this, and then you said, oh, maybe this instead? Or is it sort of more subtle than that?
It's definitely more subtle than that. And also just, I don't even, when you work with somebody for a long time, you start to not keep track of whose idea was what. So it's just sort of like, yeah, I'll make a suggestion a year ago, and then it seemingly won't happen. But then a year later, maybe it does, and then maybe it's his idea. I don't know. Larry obviously has my trust and Skybound's trust to do what's right for this book. And, I think there are some things where I can remind him maybe more often about, like, well, this character used to be a mutant, but they're not a mutant anymore. That kind of thing that I'm now up to speed on. But it's mostly the subtle stuff. I mean, the larger plot of G.I. Joe is all Larry.
There was an interesting point in the issue 325 letters column where you wrote something like, I think we decided that we'd had enough of Serpentor for a little while, so we just give him a little rest.
Yeah.
Was that an Alex thought, or?
I honestly don't know. I think it was a discussion, but I think he has plans for Serpentor, and those are still his plans. And the pacing of it may be. I don't know. It's you'd have to ask Larry. I think I'm glad that we're not going back to Serpentor so quickly. So I think there's a lot of other great characters to explore. I think the new status quo with Cobra Commander is going to be really interesting to dive into here, given the fact that everything that happened in the big battle with Destro and what's going on with Destro and there's the new Cobra, the old Cobra, Revenge. Like there's a lot of key players right now that are in flux, and I think the whole book is sort of transitioning to a new status quo right now, which is pretty fun.
There are seemingly now sort of 3 artists in rotation, all great and all different from each other. Chris Mooneyham, Andrew Cronky, and Paul Pelletier. Is this book is still chugging along monthly? Schedule's okay? Things are well enough ahead?
Yep, we've even got inventory issues that have been drawn in the event that they need to be used. So, yes, no, I'm everything is on schedule. This is a monthly book. There's no plans for it not to be a monthly book at any point. You'll even notice that, like, whether it was a smart decision or not, we didn't skip a month in April. Part of that is just because we want to keep the consistency of the main title intact, and I think we saw that even though there were 5 one-shots in the month of April last time, it felt like we lost a little bit of continuity from a retailer standpoint if the main title was not there in the same month. So we're testing that out and seeing if that actually makes a difference. But I think, like I said, this is a monthly book. I think anything that we do moving forward on G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, beyond the monthly book will be additive and not replace it, if that makes sense.
And the Hama Files has been shipping monthly as well. Can you tell us about that and your plans for that book? Is that going to be keep on trucking?
Keep on trucking for sure. It was a fun process. Talking with Larry, talking with Diana about what are some key issues that we feel like fans would want us to reprint, and then how can we make them skybound? and part of that was let's get Larry to do a little bit of commentary in the back of each issue, which Larry was happy to do. So. And then, yes, get a new cover because Mooneyham, I think, on those covers has been awesome. So, been happy to see Mooneyham revisit some like classic G.I. Joe moments with his style and flavor. So that's been really cool, and I think fans have responded accordingly. It's selling really well. So, I think as long as it continues to sell, we'll continue to do them. Obviously, there's 155 issues for us to choose from if we want to get to them all.
Or are there 300 issues for you to choose?
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Here's where I say something conflicting. On the one hand, I'm so excited that Marvel issues are getting reprinted because they're wonderful and people remember them fondly. Those sold in very high numbers at the time, and I wonder if there's a saturation where a lot of fans already have them as opposed to other G.I. Joe comics that Larry Hama wrote, whether at IDW or some of the Hasbro pack-in ones. So part of me wants to say, hey, lay off the Marvel ones. At the same time, as a store owner, you know what I could really sell more of? No, I'm serious. Issue 1.
Yeah.
Issue 1, the Hama cut, maybe with the original cover, maybe with a wonderful new Chris Mooneyham cover.
But we've talked about it, and I think it's an excellent suggestion.
Okay.
But yeah, so much that we've talked about. Yeah, we sold really well that first Hama cut issue 1 back, I guess, 2 years ago at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, I think for more on the IDW era, see March's Kickstarter, which we will be reprinting everything, which is going to be very fun.
We can do a segue. Do you want to tell us how wonderful and difficult this is, or how easy it is, or just hype people to get there to get ready for it?
Yeah, I would say it was a lot easier to be comprehensive the second time around because we had access to everything that IDW did. I think some of the Marvel stuff was trickier to track down. Although we have, I can't spoil it here, but we do have some comics that are very hard to find in the IDW box set, which we're calling the Next Era. And I think again, working with Diana has been awesome, figuring out what needs to be there, what doesn't need to be there. I think it was, anything that is quote unquote in Real American Hero continuity was the goal.
We think we know what that means.
We think we do. It's been awesome, and going back to Andy for some new art. We've got a bunch of new Chris Mooneyham stuff as well that he's been working on. So we've got some of the IDW era artists coming back, which you'll see soon. So yeah, really really excited about the next Kickstarter, and obviously if fans missed the first one. We'll be reprinting those books as well, so that'll be awesome. And if you got the first one and just want to continue, we've got something for you as well. There's going to be some differences with this campaign in terms of like add-ons and bonuses that we are coming up with. So it's not just going to feel like an exact repeat of the first campaign. I'm particularly excited about a couple of them. So yeah, more on that once the campaign goes live.
Can you talk a little bit about Andy Kubert moving on and Lee Weeks coming on? What I'll just say as a G.I. Joe person, what a wonderful transition, and congratulations on keeping Andy Kubert around for so long and for so many extra things.
Yeah.
How's that been, and how's what's next?
It's been great. Andy did. If you count, all of his additional covers and art, obviously 1 through 301 to 325 for sure, but then there's a bunch of other stuff that he did. So I would guess that he has done the equivalent of like 40, 45 pieces of art for Real American Hero since he started, which is amazing. And yeah, I mean, I think his favorite artist is Lee Weeks. So I think that was a pretty easy transition. Lee was somebody that we had worked with already on the previous Kickstarter. He did some trading cards with us, and I've worked with Lee for a long time, and he is absolutely one of my favorite artists of all time. So it was funny because Andy was looking to take a break, and I should say this: it's a break as of right now. It's not a full. See you later, but we don't have a timeline on it yet. But he definitely wants to come back and do more. So
he's got interiors to draw for Terminal.
He's got this big project called Terminal that he has drawn a lot of already. He's been drawing that while he was doing all the G.I. Joe stuff. But really in the year that this launches and gets going, like, he definitely needs to be focused on Terminal. That's a huge priority for the company and for him and for Robert. And definitely go check that out if you haven't. That comes out in July. Yeah, I remember talking with him about it. He was talking about, I think I'd like to step away for a little bit, and I just need to focus on this other stuff. And I was sad, but I also understood, and I was happy that he had stuck around for as long as he did. I think I floated Lee, and we both independently came to the same idea. Robert was like, "What about Lee Weeks?" Everyone kind of it was like, it seems like it's got to be Lee Weeks. I don't know that there's any other choice really. And so then I called Lee, and Lee was like, "It's so funny. I was at the comic store the other day, and I was just admiring Andy's covers, and I was like, it would be kind of cool to do more G.I. Joe covers." Like, literally the same week that I called him to take over as main coverist. So he was like, it was perfect timing. And then I immediately went on paternity leave as soon as I hired him, which was not great. But he's back. We're good. And yeah, he's on until he's not. And I'm very excited about all the stuff that he's worked up already, and I think he's really finding his groove. I think each cover has been better than last as he refamiliarizes himself with the world of G.I. Joe, which obviously he does have experience with, but hasn't worked on in quite some time.
The second cover, which has a lot of green and yellow, who's coloring Lee Weeks on these covers?
The first cover was Matt Hollingsworth. The second cover and beyond is Dave Stewart. Okay,
that second one really jumped out at me in a this term is so imprecise, in an old school way. Like there's a brightness to it that feels like covers you might see in the 80s on a certain Marvel series. And I love it, and that's all. I don't have a question.
Good. No, thank you. Yeah, no, Dave Stewart's one of the best. I mean, they both are, but Dave Stewart's one of the best colors in comics. I think there's like a level of quality I think that you can count on when a book is colored by Dave Stewart in a way. So obviously, Lee Weeks is that. Lee Weeks is yeah, he's a legend. He's somebody that I feel like can make every character look great, which is Andy's strength as well. But GI Joe, Marvel, DC, especially DC. Whenever I think of like the base version of a certain character, the art that I imagine is Lee Weeks' art for whatever reason. That's just like he just has that. I think maybe classic, timeless, whatever sort of feel, which I think works particularly well on GI Joe, Real Nerd Hero for sure.
Mark, I'm going to have you in a minute, not yet, queue up an image that I sent you. Alex, I just want to set the stage here. You and I have something in common because we've both edited Larry Hama. I've got this comic with him that just came out from Boom, and it was drawn by the late, great Mark Bright, who has a big G.I. Joe connection.
Yep.
And I am a very big Mark Bright fan, and I feel protective of his, name. And Mark, can you pull this up? And I noticed on the cover to softcover Compendium 3 that there are 2 artists credited on this cover who aren't in the book, but several who aren't. So here's my vote that before this comes out in May, those 2 wonderful artists who aren't in the book get pulled from the cover, and 2 who are get top billing.
Don't worry. I noticed this before it went to print.
Okay.
And I believe we went with Bright and Rogers,
Cool.
but Bright's definitely on there.
Thank you. Excellent. Wonderful. All right.
Yes.
Mark, you can move that slide off.
Very good.
And I'm pretty sure I sent an email about this a month ago. But anyway, Mark, I've asked a couple questions. You ask a question.
I did just have a follow-on question about the Hama Files before I forget, which was that in the front of the book, it's got a few credits covering cover art and color restoration. Are you able to talk to that credit? Is there active restoration work currently being done prior to these reprints happening?
Yes, because all the files for the covers that we have you can't print them as covers because they're not cropped properly, and it's a lot of technical stuff. Basically, they don't work. You could print them, but you'd have to like add a border to them. It wouldn't look good. So we wanted to restore them, make them the best versions of themselves, and also redo these reprints. So we've hired Corey Seidelmeyer, who is like one of the best in the business in terms of restoring comics, and he and his team, Michael Kelleher is on his team. They have restored a ton of stuff. They restored all of G.I. Joe Order of Battle before. They restored G.I. Joe Special, the Todd McFarlane issue. We've been working with them to restore things as needed, sort of over the last few years.
When Skybound reprinted issue 1 of Transformers from 1984, the cover, the Bill Sienkiewicz painted cover, looked much better than any reprint I had ever seen before, including the original. And then recently I saw a photo of someone holding that painting, like an art collector and an art dealer. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I wonder if Skybound got a scan or a photo of the original art. And in general, I wonder, has Skybound been able to go back to the original art for some of these reprints?
Yes, that's exactly what we did for Transformers. We found the guy who owned the original art and said, "Can you rescan this?" We had to teach him how to scan, but it was and that's we have tried to do that when possible for this stuff. I don't remember if I shared this story last time or not. Maybe it was when we were doing the compendiums, but like we found in the IDW reprints, there was a missing page, like just full on missing page of the story. And it was nowhere to be found in any files that IDW had from the Marvel era. So I tracked down the original art to that page and had it restored, which is kind of funny because that page just looks much better than the previous page in the comic. But I mean, when possible, and it's very labor intensive and takes a lot of time to track down this stuff, and we don't necessarily have the ability to do it for everything. But as needed, as possible, we definitely go to try to use the original art for restorations. We did the same thing for the Sssilent issue. We found the original art for that, restored that from there. So for issue number 2, we did the same thing. We restored it from original art. But we don't have every issue. So in some cases we do have the original film scans, which we have used, I think, for most of the Hama Files restorations.
These are 11 by 17. These are what were photographed of the art back in the 80s.
Yes, in black, of the line art specifically. Yeah. And those are better than buying the comic and scanning it and trying to recreate it from a from a printed comic. You can do it, and we've done it, but that's the worst way to do it. So yeah, we take each opportunity as it comes, but the goal is obviously to just make it look as good as we can make it look. Yeah.
Mark, I wanted to ask a little about Sssilent missions. Should we transition to that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alex, I'm so impressed by, and the minute it was announced, I get an email from Skybound. Mark gets an email from Skybound. The internet announces it. So I sometimes sort of get 3 pieces of news on my phone and my computer in different directions. And I made a little squeal of delight collectively for all of this, because this is just an impressive lineup. But I'm also so pleased that Tom DeFalco is involved, because he was the editor for the first year of G.I. Joe, the first 6 published issues. So in a cosmic balance, that's just really nice. Pat Oliff is an artist who 15 years ago, I thought, man, this guy'd be really good on G.I. Joe. And then you guys teased us with that variant cover for 301.
Yep.
Excuse me, for issue 1 Hama cut, and the heads in the back of 301. And I thought, what is this? Are they banking this guy for later? But there's, not just sort of, old school guys like DeFalco and Oliff, but the rest of these are all a really impressive lineup. And I shouldn't be surprised, because it's Skybound. But, for a while, we might have been used to G.I. Joe not being treated like the top brand that it was. So can you talk about finding some of these people, convincing some of these people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Introductory question. At what point did you realize that you had to do a second Sssilent Missions month?
That we had to when we got the sales for the first one, because it did really well. But actually, it was funny, because when we were kind of talking about it already when we were coming up with the original Sssilent Missions concept. And then we got the Jorge Fornes cover in, which he came up with the having each cover be a letter. And I was like, G.I. Joe, C-O-B-R-A. It's the same. We could do the same thing. So there we go. So we had him come back and reprise his role as the cover B and D artist. But then I was, I asked him if he wanted to draw one, and he said yes, which I was really happy with, because I think he's one of the best. He's one of the best storytellers in comics, period. So him doing Firefly has been awesome. And I was worried that he was going to be the slowest, but it turned out he was the fastest.
Who was your idea? Who was Ben Abernathy's idea? Who was someone else's idea? Because it sounds like Phil Hester made a suggestion or two. And when did all this? What's the timeline of putting these together?
Yeah. So. Very easy to decipher that. So Joelle, I had asked about the first time around. I was like, do you want to do a Scarlet story? And she's like, I would, but I just don't have any time. And I was like, okay, no problem. And thank God she said no. Because there is not a character that Joelle was born to draw more than Baroness. I think we sent you the issue, but it is spectacular looking. It's some of the best G.I. Joe comics, period, in my opinion. I'm so happy with how that issue turned out. And honestly, I said this in a little letter that's going to go in the back of every issue, but there was only one choice for Baroness, and it was Joelle. So I was really, really happy. She was the first person I called, and she The only hiccup that we had with it was she was like, I don't know GI Joe that well. Can I get somebody to help with the story? And so Declan was her idea, and I like Declan just fine. So that was great. Like, well, two for the price of one, which is awesome. So and Declan's a great writer, obviously in his own right. So yeah, so that's how Baroness came about. Uh, Funny story about Gabriel Hardman on what is it, Crimson Guard. He was supposed to do a Mutt and Junkyard story in the first one, which would have been great. Maybe one day we'll return to it. But he got called by some big Hollywood director to do his storyboards, and that's his day job. So he had to drop out at the last minute on that project, which was a bummer. But then when we announced that we were going to do this, or when we decided that we were going to do this, rather, he was my second call because I said, "Well, you were going to do it before. Would you want to do it again?" And he had some ideas for characters. I can't say my idea because it gives away the entire thing, but I did give him an idea for this story that he just ran with and made like way better than my version of it. So I was happy to. I kind of wanted one of these to not be like a named character. I wanted just to get under the mask, so to speak, of a soldier of some kind on the Cobra front. So it felt like Crimson Guard was the way to go about that. So yeah, really happy with how this one turned out as well. And Gabriel is one of the best. Again, I feel like I say it's about literally everybody on this lineup here, but again, a phenomenal storyteller, and was so thrilled that he was excited to come aboard. And I'll say this too, like Joel wasn't a huge fan of GI Joe, but had familiarity with GI Joe. Like everybody has familiarity with GI Joe. So it's really just about pointing them in the right direction, and then they dive in on their own and make it their own. Obviously, somebody that really knew GI Joe was Tom DeFalco and Pat Olive. So Tom was Pat's choice, not choice, but he suggested Tom, and I was like, that's a great suggestion, fantastic. I have been going to artists first on this because that's how I view these silent issues, as really artist driven, storyteller driven. And I think it was the same deal with Pat's like, I could use a little bit of help. What do you think about Tom DeFalco? And I was like, you mean editor of G.I. Joe #1? Sure. Let's do that. That sounds like a good idea. And so that was great. I didn't get a chance to work with Tom much because most of while he was doing his scripting, I was out on paternity leave. But I think I had actually worked with him very briefly at DC. So he's a legendary dude, and we're happy to have him aboard. And yeah, the history of him on this title was cool. I remember when I told Diana, who was on every issue, she was particularly excited about Tom. So that's always a good sign. I think I suggested Zartan because I was like, it'd be fun to have a character that kept changing in the story, and you have to really be a good storyteller to allow people to follow all of that, because that's with no dialogue. I think it's a harder task, and even harder upon that if the character doesn't look the same from panel to panel. So yeah, and they pulled it off. They did great work. After that was a Ben Abernathy joint with Howard Porter and who's it, Copperhead? Yeah, I think we liked Copperhead for this. Part of how we came up with some of the suggestions was literally which characters did fans vote for when we did the G.I. Joe stuff during the last Kickstarter campaign. So I think that was helpful. And Copperhead was definitely one of the fan favorite characters that was we were excited to drop in. And yeah, Howard is awesome. he's drawn a lot of comics, and they are all very action packed, and he has delivered that in spades on Copperhead. So very, very happy with how that one turned out. But I take no credit. That was all Abernathy. And then Fornes on the last one, like I said, I asked him if he wanted to do one, just because I admire his storytelling so much, and I knew he would enjoy the challenge of the silent issue. That's the other thing too, is talking to these artists is like, you got to be good. You got to be really good if you're going to make this work. I've seen a lot of bad attempts at silent issues over the years, not G.I. Joe, just in general in comics, and it only works if you're a really great storyteller. And again, Jorge is that. Joined by Dave Stewart, who's again one of the best colors in comics. So yeah, that one is really like a masterclass. It's a little bit. It's a very simple story told in a complicated fashion, but you can follow it perfectly. It's like it's really 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 well done. Yeah, I can't wait for people to check it out.
Excellent.
Very cool. Yeah. And it's going to keep us busy during April as well, Tim.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to all the feedback. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys liked, and yeah, I hope we can continue to surprise you guys with cool GI Joe Real American Hero stuff like this in the future, because it's been really fun. This whole venture kind of started off on a lark because we were talking about reprinting the Sssilent issue and what could we do, and then it became 12 issues.
I'll just say one last thing, since I think we're out of time. The week of April, where one of these comes out and also a Larry Hama issue comes out, is going to be, there may have never been a week like it in all of G.I. Joe history. Certainly weeks where more than one G.I. Joe comic comes out, but, Real American Hero continuity. And lastly, I'm sorry, I'm already feeling greedy. These haven't even come out. I'm sure you're still working on them, but I'm already looking forward to 2027. I hope there's a third one. I don't know what the gimmick is. I'm sure we could all think of some. So my vote for even more Sssilent missions.
I had a feeling you guys would want more G.I. Joe. I don't know. It was just something that told me that might be a possibility. But yeah, and like I said, we definitely, maybe a different execution. We don't want to do anything that starts to feel tired, and we've loved doing these issues. And I love being able to invite maybe non-traditional G.I. Joe people into the world of G.I. Joe. I always try to make comics for people that don't read comics or that have like limited experience with comics. And this could be a comic that you give to somebody that has never read an issue of G.I. Joe before, and they would get it and enjoy it. Certainly the case here. And also working with creators that can commit to a single issue or a small miniseries or whatever, but not, take over a regular book like this. These kinds of things are great for that, and also, rewarding the fans for with cool stuff and making cool stuff. That's my passion, is just making comics that I'm excited by, and these comics excite me, and I'm really excited to share them with everybody. Yeah.
Alex, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, a busy guy. You've got 5 extra comics to put out this next month. So
the good news is they're all done. We just finished them all up, so we're in good shape. All the work is done. I was going to suggest before we started that we just sit here for 40 minutes in silence in honor of the Sssilent missions, but I think what we did was better. So
I do have one final request. I hope that there is a new Andy Kubert cover for the inevitable Volume 2 collection of Sssilent missions. I'll just leave, or an awesome cover by someone awesome. I'll leave it at that.
There are awesome covers by someone awesome. Absolutely.
Very good. Thanks so much for your time, Alex, again.
Of course.
So that was great, Tim. Glad to have Alex back on a year on since we spoke to him last. Good to get his reflections on 3 years into G.I. Joe and what that looked like, how that felt different to when he was starting.
Yes, I feel fortunate that our podcast has can get the interest of important people at Skybound to grace us with some of their time. And I know that some of this is about, promotion, and, writers and artists and editors and publicists wants to get the word out. And so we can be a vehicle for that. But it does feel nice that, Mark, you can ask, and Skybound tends to say yes. And then we can get, little scoops and just a nice check-in, because it feels like there is such a great momentum to both versions of G.I. Joe at Skybound, and such care. And like I said before, Skybound is putting a lot of really good attention into this brand. And, for years I've known it, that it's the best brand, or maybe it ties with Transformers, one of the 2 best brands. And to have a publisher, act that way and, put the resources behind it and give me too many comics to podcast about. It's a really nice feeling. So thank you again to Skybound and to Alex.
Good. So a recap of all of those things. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, monthly. The Hama Files, also monthly. The month of April, every week we'll be seeing a new Sssilent missions. And Kickstarter launches March the 24th. And compendiums, reprints also being launched.
And if you are not a hardcover or a Kickstarter person, the soft cover, the regular Compendium 3, will be in stores in May. And we just saw the cover to Compendium soft cover, Compendium 4. That was just revealed a week or two ago. And that'll be out, I think in December, I forget. But, it's got Snake Eyes version 4 front and center.
And there's, I think, deluxe hardcover editions as well,
right,
coming out in the summer.
Right.
Reprinting, I think, the first 10 issues, 301 through to 310.
Hey, while we're lining all this stuff up, after April, after May, there'll be a soft cover of all of Sssilent Missions Volume 2, and then there could be a deluxe edition hardcover of all of the 10 Sssilent Missions comics. It's a good time to be a G.I. Joe fan.
And then 5 years into the Sssilent Missions crossovers, they'll do, and actually it would have to be 10 years into the Sssilent Missions crossovers, they'll do a compendium edition that collects all 50.
Actually, I think what we should do, not in this episode, but now and then in some future episodes, is you and me, Mark, try and brainstorm what kind of format, or I say this word kindly, gimmick, a third year of something like Sssilent Missions, right? For, let's say, April 2027, if it's not going to be 5 more weekly wordless comics featuring, these one-shot characters with no dialogue, what might it be? I've already just saying this sentence, I've already got some ideas, which maybe I'll put in an email.
It's going to be a vehicle Sssilent month, and it's just like the vamp, just the engine's turned off.
The pets.
All of the pets apart from Polly.
Okay,
yeah.
Sssilent Missions Volume 3 is vehicles. Joe Vehicles Sssilent Missions Volume 4 is Joe Pets. Sssilent Missions Volume 5 is Cobra Vehicles.
And you've got G.I. Joe adjacent characters like the white clown who can just be a mime.
Wow.
Right. Wow. Indeed. Right. So if you're new to Talking Joe, this is an interesting place to start, but we can be found at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is our website that points you in the direction of all of the places we can be found.
If you are new to Talking Joe, this episode is half as long, at least, of all of our other episodes.
Towards our Facebook group, get involved in the discussions, like and subscribe on YouTube. And join in with all of the fun. People who are getting the most fun, Tim, are our Patreon members. Patreon.com/TalkingJoe is the website where they discovered us and clicked subscribe. A big thanks to Richard, Sam, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig D, Shane V2. This one is not saying a word. Infinite Entertainment, Patrick, Gary V, Coldroff, and B. They're getting early access to content as well as all sorts of exclusives. I put up a few extra bits this last week just for the Patreon members. So, Tim, where can you be found when you're not talking to me and illustrious editors?
I have a YouTube channel with my creative partners. It is video essays on TV and film, informative and fun. That's at YouTube at Atomic Abe. I have a comic book store, a brick and mortar comic book store. That's in Somerville, Massachusetts, Hub Comics. And I write about G.I. Joe at my blog, a realamericanbook.com. And those last two things had a little convergence recently because there was a Larry Hama signing at my store. I brought him from New York and he signed at my store. And then I blogged about it at my blog. It's a 3,000-word essay with photos called Anatomy of a Larry Hama Signing. So if you want to know what it's like and how it feels to host a cool guy at your store, go to my blog and read that. And also, we are one issue into our 4-issue miniseries published by Boom Studios. The Center Holds. It's a superhero story. I'm the editor. I put it together with Larry Hama, writer, and Mark Bright, artist. And it's pretty good. Hope you check it out.
See, I missed the opportunity to do a really bad segue, Tim. But just for the record, the segue would have been, "Hey, we just spoke to an editor. Tim, have you ever edited a comic?" There we go. Just for completeness, let's put that there.
That's good.
Right. So I said that, but I feel like there's something else that we've not yet said. Tim, any thoughts on what that
Yes,
could be?
Because at the end of every episode, this happens. Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Oh, it does. I'd noticed that. Latest.
They've got inventory issues. Damn.